Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to We Are Listening. We have made it to episode 36. That's right, 36. We are moving strong into 2022. My name is Ahmed Dents, Director of Venue Experience and Artistic Associate here at San Diego Repertory Theatre. And once again, welcome. We have a spectacular show with a spectacular guest coming up for you in just a moment. Before we get things started, please let me start off by doing what we do around this way and reading off a land acknowledgement very quickly. Let me get this on my screen so I can share with you this beautiful map that has been made for us. And I do not know why that is blinking like that. Whatever, there it is. Hope y'all can see that. San Diego Rep would like to acknowledge that the Lyceum Theater is built on the traditional lands of the Ipai, Tipai, Kumeyaay Nation, translated as the people who overlook the ocean from the cliffs. We also want to recognize their neighbors in the region, the Payonkawichum, the Kawaiha, and the Kapuno people. San Diego Repertory Theatre honors the over 20,000 current tribal members living in our area and elevates local elders past and present and future. We respectfully acknowledge these community members for their tremendous contributions to our region and thank them for their continued stewardship. Again, my name is Ahmed Dents. Welcome to We Are Listening. And you know how I get down. I'm only here by myself every once in a while. You know how we usually get down. Please welcome my co-pilot, my partner in crime, along with Freedom Bradley Ballantyne, who likes to hide from cameras and don't want to come out here and be with y'all. Please welcome Director of Arts Engagement and In-House Casting at La Jolla Playhouse, Jacole Kitchen. Jacole, what's up?
Hey, Ahmed. Hey, everybody. You're the one that has a cold, but I'm all choked up. I'm all choked up to be back, y'all. It feels like we've been away for so long. I'm so happy to be back. Happy New Year. Can you still say Happy New Year?
Yeah,
24 days in.
You can still say it.
Happy New Year, y'all. It's the first. We are listening of the new year. So glad to be back. So glad to be here with you, Ahmed.
Yeah, it's all good to be back, and we got a spectacular guest for the folks coming up in just a few moments. Before we get started, Jacole, I want to hand it over to you to let me know what's going on around your way over there at the Playhouse.
Yes. We are in rehearsal, you guys. We're in rehearsal live and in person for a brand new musical, a 20-something person musical with a creative team of 700 people. We got 30 choreographers. We got a directing team of 17. No, I'm exaggerating, but only by about that much, you guys. Only by about that much. But it is fantastic. It's so great to have everybody back in the room. That's banging it, a banging new musical. It is about identity. It is about belonging. It is about competitive collegiate Bhangra. It's everything that you would want in a musical. It's fun. It's hilarious. It's heartwarming. It's touching. It's beautiful. Please come out and enjoy. That is going to be at La Jolla Playhouse March 8th through April 17th. Please come and join us. And everybody, the WOW Festival is coming back. You've heard me say it. We've been teasing like it's going to be happening for a while, but the WOW Festival is back. It's so back, Ahmed can't even find it on our website. We may not have it officially up yet. There is going to be a press release coming out this week that is going to be the first spattering of WOW performances that are going to. That's the one without walls. Click there, see what happens. There it is. And there's going to be a little bit of a sneak preview coming out and a press release coming out this week. We've got local artists. We've got international artists. We've got people from all over the country. We've got family friendly. Everything is for everyone. It's going to be so fun to be back out at Liberty Station without walls. Wow. That's what we got going on. April 21st to 24th. I keep getting that wrong. So I think it does. It says that right because I know things. April 21st through 24th at Arts District Liberty Station. Please come and join us for what is now an annual festival. Are kicking off the first annual WOW Festival. So excited. Ahmed, what's going on at the Globe?
At the Globe, well, let's see what's going on at the Globe. Trouble in My Mind is going on at the Globe. This kicks off on February 4th through March 14th on the Donald and Darlene Shiley stage.
Please directed by a We Are Listening favorite, Delicia Turner Sonnenberg.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure y'all get over to the Globe and check this out. I know this is going to be a spectacular play because just about anything that Delicia touches is spectacular just by nature anyhow. But please make sure you get over to the Globe and check out what's going over there. Visit their website, theoldglobe.org. Again, I was just on the website for La Jolla Playhouse, LaJollaPlayhouse.org. Make sure you get over there and check out and get your tickets for Banging It. I also want to come back over to sdrep.org real quick and let you know what's going on. We have a weekend with Pablo Picasso currently streaming. This is, again, one-man play written by Herbert Sequenza. I have to admit, it is my favorite work that he has done. I love Picasso. There's one of the pieces of art that he did live on stage. He's hanging up here in the back of my office. Make sure, if you have not seen Picasso, take this opportunity to stream this. We have it available for you now through February 6th. And then also coming up on March 3rd, I'm going to segue into something here, is The Great Con, written by Michael Gene Sullivan. Please make sure you get your tickets to check out this play. This is a wonderful play, a great play. Check it out. And also, In Every Generation will be coming up on May 26th. Now, as I talked about segueing with The Great Con, we have 2 more episodes of We Are Listening scheduled coming up for you. Starting on February 7th, I will be back with the solo mission. We Are Listening Notes. We'll be talking about the African Grove Theater. The African Grove Theater was the African company was the first official African American theater trope in the United States. The African Grove Theater was kind of like the first official theater where they started at in 1821. It had a good run for 3 years, but it had some crazy way that it ended because there was some folks who weren't Black that got mad that the theater was doing so well in New York in the 1800s. And so we're going to take a minute and talk about the African Grove Theater. That's February 7th, right here, same bad time, same bad channel. And then coming up on February 21st, we will be talking to Michael Gene Sullivan, the playwright of The Great Con, spectacular playwright, just finished a run acting in the 12th Night, I think. Do you remember where the 12th Night was playing at just recently, Jacole? Just closed?
I do, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, he's not going to tell me. So, but he just closed that out. He just closed out acting in that, and now he will be here in town as we get ready to mount his play, The Great Con, and he will be talking to us here on We Are Listening. That's going to be on February 21st. Again, same bad time, same bad channel. You can watch it on our YouTube page and our Facebook page. And of course, as we finish off every episode of We Are Listening, you can rewatch them on the La Jolla Playhouse's YouTube page, on San Diego Rep's YouTube page, and also on our Facebook pages. And you can also digest them in podcast form on Spotify. Just look for San Diego Repertory Theatre. You'll also be able to get them pretty soon coming up on La Jolla Playhouse's podcast page, as soon as I can get my geeky self, get the audio done like I am supposed to. So make sure you visit sdrep.org, lajollaplayhouse.org, and theoldglobe.org, and check out all the good stuff that we got coming up for you. What's up, Jacole?
Before we bring in our guest for today, I just want to give a shout out to We Are Listening Notes, and I need y'all to tune in and hope you appreciate it. I'm getting choked up again because, you know, me, Freedom, and Ahmed, we have these meetings, we sit and we talk about, all right, what's We Are Listening, how we strap, what are we going to do, what does this look like? And we're like, you know what, y'all? I think that doing 2 a month is feeling like a lot. We should probably breathe a little bit, take a moment for all of us to just breathe. I think we should go down to probably once a month. That feels right. That feels right. We're all like, yeah, that feels right. That feels right. Ahmed's like, yeah, that feels right. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a whole other show on the other week. So we still get to our We Are Listenings in a month, but I'm not going to call it We Are Listening, and I'm not just going to do it. I'm going to call it We Are Listening Notes. So we still get that We Are Listening. So our We Are Listening audience still gets us in essence twice a month. And because he refuses to take a break and doesn't know how. So I hope y'all tune in. I hope y'all appreciate just the dopeness, the history, just the knowledge that is being dropped through We Are Listening Notes. I hope y'all appreciate this break.
Thank you, Jacole. You know how we get down. You know we can't stop working. It just don't happen. It doesn't
Can't
happen.
stop, won't stop. Speaking of can't stop, won't
yeah,
stop.
Speaking of don't stop working and don't know what doing too much means, don't even know what that word that phrase is. We would like to introduce you to our spectacular guest tonight. We know this is going to be a great conversation, and please welcome to We Are Listening. She is the founder and executive artistic director of Cultural Noire Performing Arts Company, Gina Jackson. Come on in, Gina. What is going on?
Hello, Ahmed. Hello, Jacole. How are you all doing? Thank you for having me, first and foremost.
I can't believe I can't believe we're 36 episodes in and we are just now sitting down with Miss Gina M. Jackson.
That's okay. We talk quite often. So in this format, thank you. I just really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for even thinking about me. So God bless you. Thank you. But I'm doing well. How are you all doing?
We're good. We're good. We're
Here.
making it. We're all here.
Good.
We're here.
Very true. Very true.
Now Gina, as our small, our little tradition goes, like I said, anybody can read an introduction, but we always like our guests to hear for our guests, you, but also our guests who are listening and those who are watching. We always like for them to hear firsthand from our guests just a little bit about themselves and how they got into this performing arts world to where we are now. So if you could just give us a brief, however brief you would like it to be, a brief synopsis of how you got into this performing arts world and to where we are today.
Thank you, Ahmed. You know what? It's just been something I've done my entire life. I don't think you all know this, but I have a very strong music background. I played the clarinet growing up, from elementary school until high school. And so we were always surrounded with the arts in my family. My father retired from the military. We always had music around the house. We were always going to plays. Just being exposed, period, whether, through the family, at school, through church. So always having that exposure. So it really started at a very, very young age for me. So it's always been a love, always been a passion. And, as I got older, went to school, part of the degrees were theater performance or, writing my master's thesis on Black theater. And, as God has seen fit, just continuing the process, in other avenues. So, and here I am right now as a 52-year-old in San Diego.
I love it. I love it. So to me, Gina, I know you as an educator. I know you as sort of a kind of political arts advocate. Right, but let's say right now the kind of bread and butter of it all is being an educator. Why? Can you talk about kind of your job and your background in education and what drew you to education and kind of the connections between education and the arts?
Absolutely. It's so funny. I come from a family that has a lot of educators. So, of course, I didn't want to be an educator, not being so rebellious, but, I'm sorry. It's like, okay, I'll be on Broadway. You all can do the whole education administrative piece with that.
Same.
Exactly. So, you know what? When I moved to San Diego, was working part-time and I started substituting actually. And I really started to like, the whole educational teacher aspect. And I'm like, oh, you know what? This is okay. And, when I was growing up, my aunt, who's 90, will be 92 this year, I used to go to her classroom, help her grade papers and all of that good stuff, when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade or whatnot. And so anyway, became a substitute, like I was saying before, working part-time there, working part-time elsewhere. And I said, you know what, I might as well go ahead and get a teacher certification. So hence, got the teacher certification, the second master's degree, and, a guardian angel who has just really been a part of my life, Mary Castleberry, just led me so much in the right direction since I've been here. And that's how my educational journey started and where I am right now, just based upon her guidance, her leadership, every single step. She has definitely been there. So, and then as far as the educational piece and the arts piece are concerned, I teach English, and now I teach Black studies and sociology, on the high school level and the college level, English only, which is still okay, of course. I do intertwine the arts. At City College where I am, we actually started a playwrights program through the English department, I guess about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was one of the pilot teachers to teach playwriting in the English classes, which actually, was a partnership with the Department of Drama, but it was actually started by Farrell Foreman, who's actually a playwright and artist, and a lot of people in the city. He's from Philly originally, but a lot of people do know Farrell, in the educational sector and in the arts. And so anyway, having that opportunity as an example to incorporate, the arts into education, has made it even more worthwhile. So this is my 24th year with the school district now. and
Wow.
going on my 10th year as an adjunct professor. So I really love it.
I love that. It's same. I mean, I so many similarities in my story. My mom was a middle school English teacher for 30 years, among teaching other things. My dad was a college, a university administrator for so many years. And, and I'm the youngest of the kids, and I'm this little artist child that they don't know what to do with, and my mom, so much of her is an artist, but she came up in the 50s and 60s, and that wasn't an option then, and she was the youngest, and so you go to college, you get your degree, and you go be a teacher or a secretary or a whatever options were available for women in the Midwest at that time.
Exactly.
But she had an artist spirit. So for my mom, me saying, I want to go into the art, she's like, yes, my child, yes, living vicariously through me, yes. And my dad is, in that kind of university, he got his doctorate degree. He's like, okay, I get that I can't stop you from majoring in theater in college, but you can always teach. You can always fall back and teach, And it's funny because even with all of the work that I do, some of the most fulfilling work, within the community, the most fulfilling work that I do, I feel like a lot of time is working with students, whether it's young people or adult students. It's my most fun isn't necessarily working with the artist that's about to go to Broadway. I mean, I think it's really dope that Rachel Chafkin, the director of Hadestown, knows who I am and thinks that I'm really good at my job because she's going to be directing Limpika for us. So yes, that is very exciting, and I love that. But the thing that gives me tingles and gets me bubbling is seeing a spark in a young artist, or seeing that thing, saying that one thing that you see resonates with the kid because you spoke to them in an artistic language. It's my favorite thing.
And you know what? I totally agree, because, when we were in school, we had the arts, of course, but now we have so many ways to incorporate the arts because of social media, because of the internet, because of so much that we can do, from the technology format, or perspective. It's something that we definitely have to make sure that all students have access to. There are absolutely no excuses in this day and age, for us not to expose our students to the arts. So, it can be, like I said, in my English class or any English class, of course, science, math, whatever it may be.
Yeah, my mom, like I said, was an English teacher, middle school English teacher, but she got her master's degree in creative teaching. I didn't even know that was a master's that you can get, but it was her whole thing was, how do you bring excitement and creativity into every single classroom, not just the artistic ones.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. Can you talk a little bit about your work? Ahmed introduced you as the executive director of the Cultural Noire Performing Arts Center. Can you talk a little bit about Cultural Noire?
We're not a center yet, but we're getting there eventually. But
okay, company, Cultural Noire Performing Arts Company, pardon me.
A work in progress down the line for sure. Thank you. I've always, again, loved the arts, always loved theater, acted, in various plays growing up, whether in church or in the community. So I've always wanted to be the Berry Gordy of the performing arts. I love Berry Gordy. I love what he's done with Motown, and just, being such a major game changer. So life happens, you go to school. As far as me, go to school, get the degrees, start teaching. But there comes a time too where it's like, what, let me go ahead and just take a step back so I can take 2 steps further as far as, the arts piece is concerned from this perspective. Because, I've sit on board still, but I'm like, now is really the time to really get this moving and grooving with the theater company. So it was founded 2010 as a for-profit in the beginning, but then I just converted it to a nonprofit in 2019. Okay. So I love the theater company. I love the work that we do. I have such a good team working with me, you know, from here in San Diego, Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, my hometown, East St. Louis, Illinois. I mean, you know, it's just a great group of people and just a lot of innovative people, you know, younger people in their 20s, you know, those of us who are a little bit older, but, you know, it's all for the greater good. So, you know, and the goal is for us to continue, is for us to continue to live up to our mission, which is, of course, you know, to present both historical and contemporary pieces, you know, from the Black perspective, from the African diaspora, and making sure that we're authentically doing what we need to do with that voice, with our voice.
We can't hear you, Ahmed.
Mm-mm.
You're talking loud, but you ain't saying nothing.
Of course, because I'm muted, because that's the world we live in. We constantly mute ourselves. You touched on something, and that's why I stopped the screen, like right where when you were talking about your mission statement there, to produce and present artistic works, both historical, contemporary, that represent and celebrate the aesthetic of the African diaspora. Can you unpack that a little bit for us and why that's so important and kind of what that means to you personally?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. You know, we as Black people are beautiful people, and we have so many stories to share. You know, no matter if you're from the West Coast, and I'm just speaking, you know, specifically right now in the United States, or from the East Coast, or, you know, from Mother Africa, we just have so many wonderful stories and so much history that needs to be shared. You know, we were talking beforehand, Jacole, and we were talking about, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that about you. You know, as far as just in general with people here in San Diego, just imagine, you know, the various stories of people whose stories need to be told, you know, and need to be put on stage in some format, you know, whether in a musical production, you know, straight drama, visual art, a dance performance. So with the theater company, you know, performing arts company, theater company, what we want to do is make sure that we do expose those voices. There are two people right now in particular with whom I'm working, a young brother from Chicago, actually. I forgot to mention Chicago before. You know, he's a playwright and he's done some wonderful work. And so we're collaborating right now. And this young brother, and I shouldn't say this young brother, but another young brother who's actually in Louisiana, who's finishing up his PhD in music composition, if I can get it out, PhD in music composition. So, you know, it's just many stories that need to be told. And so the beautification of who we are as a people, we just have to make sure that we're authentically telling our stories. You know, we have to make sure that we're telling our stories from, you know, the accuracy perspective, how they should be told, the accurate perspective, rather, how they should be told.
And I'm so glad that you said that, because that was something that we were talking about before the interview as well. Just this the importance of authentic, underlying, bold, stressed, Black voices and representation, because especially in this time that we're in right now, there is just this like pull for Black people. We need to do this Black show. We need to get brown bodies in this show that's traditionally white. We got to do this. And people are just trying to move and do it. And that can end up doing more harm than good if you are putting Black and brown bodies into a situation that is not really ready and prepared. And those aren't their stories. We're just trying to like fit them into this box. And I mean, honestly, I will not say names because this is not what this show is about. But there was a show. My stepmom and God bless him, my dad is starting to watch a lot more theater too. He now reads the arts and culture section. I know I have done my job because he reads the arts and culture section in the Tribune every day.
Dr. Kitchen.
He is. He's looking. I mean, Sandy even said, he's looking for your name. But still, I don't care. He's reading the paper. But so we talk a lot about shows that we want to see, and Sandy had asked me about a particular show, and she told me what theater it was at. And I said, Sandy, I don't trust that theater with that story. I don't think we should see that one. I love that was one that stood out for you. I don't trust them to tell that story. I don't trust them to get the right people in place to tell that story. So to me, that goes back to that point, what you were talking about. Can you just talk a little bit more of that? Like, and I know I just blabbed on for like 20 minutes about it, but just that importance of authentic voices being the ones that are telling the stories.
Right. And you know what? Thank you for that, Jacole. But you know what? You are spot on, because you know what? We don't need to be in a position to have our pieces presented just to say that we're the Black production for the season.
Yeah.
You know, or a theater company or whatever arts organization presenting Black pieces to say, oh, we're really connected. You have to have that in-house connectedness first and foremost. And then secondly, you have to make sure that you gather a team of people who really understand, you know, the historical and the societal context in which that piece was written. That's the only way that it can really be produced authentically, you know?
Yeah.
So exactly. So, you know, you just have to make sure that the team that is on board in reference to whatever you're producing at your theater company is truly, you know, wholeheartedly part of whatever that piece may be. Mm-hmm. So I hear you on that one, because I've seen that, you know, myself, you know, in reference to, wait, this theater company is really doing this, you know, or this production company is doing that, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So there definitely has to be, you know, a real connectedness with the piece that is being produced, you know, in-house.
Yeah.
You know, that's like me going to get a piece and I'm so disconnected from it, but I'm saying, oh, I'm just going to produce it just because, you know, the spirit is not there. And people will be able to tell as soon, you know, as the first act begins. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And this has been part of your MO from the beginning, because you were saying you were a theater major, but then you got your master's in specifically Black theater. Can you talk about like what, even just I have so many questions even just about that, but I'm going to try to hone it in. Like the difference kind of between, or what you, between getting that undergrad degree in theater and then realizing and going in to get that master's degree, oh no, I need to major in Black theater. Can you talk about just that kind of journey to that?
I sure will. And you know what, it's funny because my undergrad degree was in speech communication.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it was speech comm, but my minors were English and theater performance. But still, you know, within the theater performance minor, you know, directing, dance classes, acting, of course, directing. I may have said that already, but, you know, just still a lot. Theater history, you know, it's so funny. I remember just a quick side note, when I was taking one of my theater history classes, my professor, I won't say his name, you know, but he was not teaching anything. And when I say anything about Black history, as far as Black theater history, absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing. So I'm like, okay, you know what? We need to change this up a little bit. So we had to do a research project. And of course I did mine on the Negro Ensemble Company. You know, he didn't even know about it. He had no idea. So, you know, and then, you know, other classes that I had as an undergraduate theater minor, you know, Woody King productions, you know, Amiri Baraka, who my thesis is actually based on, and I'll get to that momentarily, you know, it's like, you know what, I need to do more. So went to Clark Atlanta University, went to Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville for undergraduate school. And then I went to Clark Atlanta University because they had a very strong, and still do, have a very strong Black studies program. So the master's is African-American studies with a African-American studies with emphasis in literature and theater. So hence, you know, the African-American theater, Black theater thesis was developed, and it took a little bit of time, and it was so much fun. And when I say fun, being able to speak with various artists and companies around the country, a lot of work, yes, but I gained so much knowledge, and it's based upon Amiri Baraka's Black aesthetic concept. You know, why was the Black arts movement important? Why do we need to continue that movement? And then my thesis was based upon those theater companies, 4 theater companies that were developed or founded based upon that particular Black aesthetic concept of Amiri Baraka. So, I
had a feeling Ahmed was coming back on I had a feeling you were coming back, Ahmed.
No, I just wanted to say that was so important that you said that. And like, that was kind of the offshoot of us doing notes, right? Because it's like you said, your professor did not even know that. And for me, like, of course, the name of the show is We Are Listening, right? But the question, like I've always been asking, I've been picking up from Dr. Greg Carr lately, is like, who exactly is we, right? Like, who, when we all keep saying we, well, who is we? Because we doesn't mean the same thing to everybody.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? And like, the thing about this is that we know there's two different we's listening. There's a we listening and there's a we listening. And like you said, for that, how do we actually have ownership of our of the representation that we're speaking if we don't know how far back it really goes? You know what I mean? If we don't know about the Negro Ensemble Company, if we don't know what happened in the Federal Theater Project, if we don't know what happened to African Grove Theater, if we don't know what happened to Paul Robeson, if we don't know what happened to, if we don't know that, then we really don't have the ownership that we're really claiming that we want. We want it, but it's foggy. We just see it through a fog. But once you start digging back, then it becomes even clearer. So just that you said that made me just feel like, yeah, that's exactly the frame that we need to be having with this stuff.
And you are absolutely right. And you know what? Let me tell you all, Trouble in Mind was actually written by one of my sorority sisters, Sigma Gamma Rho sorority, and her name is Alice Childress. So I don't know if you all know the history about the play. It was supposed to be the first Black Broadway production before Raisin in the Sun. So what happened was that, she wouldn't conform to mainstream. She wouldn't make changes in her play. So she said, no, we're not going to produce this particular piece. I'm not making any changes to make anyone feel comfortable. So forget it. So that's how Raisin in the Sun came to be. And so Trouble in Mind was actually produced on Broadway, and a board that I sit on, Project One Voice, was actually one of the major supporters and big advocate to get that on Broadway. And there was a major movement just recently because the play just closed earlier this month. I'm thinking school was going to say semester, earlier this month. And you had so many organizations who, Black theater organizations who actually supported this particular movement and were a part of it. So when I saw that the Old Globe was producing it, I'm like, oh, that's really good. I mean, that's really, really good, because that is the history of it. And a lot of people don't know the true context in reference to, Soror Childress, Alice Childress, and her history of was supposed to be the first Black Broadway play. But because of what I've just said, it didn't happen. And that's how Raisin in the Sun became the first Black Broadway play.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much for that, Gina. And I appreciate that from just a lot of standpoints, but also it's really true. Like, the Old Globe is a little bit more of a silent partner. So we don't always have the in-depth information. We don't always have the background of everything that is going on, when we're here talking about the shows that are different, the productions that are different theaters. So thank you so much for that. That's so interesting. And you mentioned Project One Voice, and I totally forgot. Project One Voice brought me out of retirement a couple of years ago, and even had me back up on stage doing a reading. It is such an amazing project, and I'd love to have you talk about it, because my favorite thing after that reading that we did was, I have a friend in Hawaii, and he had posted that he and his wife had gone to see a reading of the same play that we did the same night. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Project One Voice. And so the fact that, so can you just talk a little bit about it? It's such a beautiful program.
Thank you, Jacole. You know what? We did have so much fun. The Colored Museum, George C. Wolfe. That's right.
Sure, that's right.
Absolutely. Project One Voice was founded by Erich McMillan, who's a very good friend of mine, former Broadway performer. And Erich wants Project One Voice, which it is, to be an artistic umbrella for just what we've been talking about, Black voices. So everyone is welcome, needless to say. But you know what? He's such an advocate. He's such an advocate for making sure that, with visual arts, definitely theater, dance, as well as music. Theater is the foundation of Project One Voice, but he wants to make sure that there's a collective movement. So that's what Project One Voice is. It was founded I want to say maybe about 10 or 12 years ago. I should know this, but I really can't remember right offhand. But about 10, 12 years ago, Erish founded Project One Voice, and he's been doing well. He's been doing well. I'm a board member as of last year for Project One Voice, and the theater definitely still collaborates. And Eric is definitely one of my biggest supporters, and he's definitely a mentor and just a very good friend. And I just love him dearly. Just a good guy, and he's always working. I know you all were saying that about me, but Erish is always on the go, and always helping other people, and being a mentor, being a support, connecting so many people together around the country in reference to what we've been talking about during this conversation, those voices that need to be heard, and making sure that we support each other with the work that we all, are doing or striving to get, or the points that we're striving to get to. So that's what Project One Voice is, that umbrella, for numerous organizations around the country. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love just the way that it brings so many different organizations together, literally through one playwright's voice in that moment. I just think it's such a beautiful thing. And so you've mentioned that you're on the board there. You've mentioned a couple of other boards that you sit on. We've talked about this a little bit. We've had the pleasure of having a conversation with some Black board members here in town that sit on the various boards of our theaters. And so we've talked a little bit about representation on boards, especially at PWIs, like the big white institutions, making sure that we have voices. Can you just talk, because you sit on a number of different boards. I don't know if folks even know, I'm embarrassed that I don't know if you are still an acting member or active member of the Commission for Arts and Culture, or if you are a former commissioner.
No, I'm still a commissioner.
Okay, great. So, I don't know if folks know this, but you're on the Commission for Arts and Culture. You are recently joined the San Diego Performing Arts League board. We are diversifying the shit out of that board. I came on like a few years, like maybe 8, 7. I don't even know how long I've been there. And I was just we have to do something. I was just that soul voice for so long, voice. And I look around that table now, Gina, and I'm like, yes, you got me, you got Candace Crystal. We're bringing in, new folk, Ben Aguilera. Like, I'm just like, loving the way it's looking. But sorry, I went on a tangent. And so the boards that you sit on are so eclectic. Like Project One Voice is so different than PAL, is so different from different organizations. So can you kind of talk about just sort of your attraction to, because that's a real specific thing. Like sitting on a board is real. I got one. And I'm like, that's enough. And that's not even like an intense board. But can you talk about why that's something that's in your life and why that's important to you to sit on boards and have a voice in those kind of conversations?
Well, thank you, Jacole. You're so humble. You're the executive director for the Performing Arts League. So it's an honor to definitely work with you from that perspective as well. So thank you so much. And you just said it, we have to have our voices at the table. Being an arts commissioner, I have absolutely, enjoyed every single moment. You know what, let me tell you, I was driving by Seaport Village, downtown here. And next month will be my 25th anniversary living in San Diego.
Wow.
Yeah, just a side note, I was only going to be out here for a couple of years, finished grad school, a family member, very close family friend suggested San Diego. I'm like, San Diego? He used to be stationed here as a pilot for the Navy and a lieutenant commander. Yeah. I'm like, there are no Black people in San Diego. I'm like, you know what? Look, there's Shamu, retirees, and that's it. I'm like, if I move to the West Coast, it'll be like Los Angeles somewhere, Oakland,
Right.
I need vibrancy. And so anyway, had no idea, so came out a couple of times, visited. I'm like, okay, I can do, San Diego, no snow, the beach, can do that for a couple of years. He told me write a couple of plays or whatnot, start moving back east. So that was 25 years ago. So it's pretty hard to leave. And now he owns 20 plus McDonald's restaurants back in the St. Louis area where we're from. And so since I've been here in the city, it's just really truly been my God's design, because you're an administrator at La Jolla Playhouse. I was on one of the boards at the Playhouse when I first moved out here. La Jolla Playhouse Partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, one of my friends in Atlanta who I used to work with in the arts, told me about the Playhouse Partners, retired physician, and told me about La Jolla Playhouse. I'm sorry. So when I came here, to the city, I started volunteering with La Jolla Playhouse. They welcomed me, the whole family with open arms. Oh my goodness. And I just learned so much at the Playhouse. I really learned a lot. And so, that just really led to other board positions because I was membership chair, then second vice president, first vice president. And then at that time, I was working on my administrative credential, about to start my administrative credential. Friends of Malcolm X had asked me to become the president of the Friends. So it's like, oh, which way do I go? It's time to be, the president, my term rather for, Playhouse Partners. Mm-hmm. And there's a need I know at Malcolm X. So Malcolm X won.
Like you do.
Yeah, Malcolm X did win. The library definitely won on that one. Not that I'm some big prize or anything, but I'm like, okay, I think I probably am needed just a little bit more here. And so anyway, just the presence. But back to your original question with that, it's so important that we do have our voices at the table, with the commission, with the Performing Arts League, La Jolla Playhouse Partners as an example, other boards that I've sat on, Horton Plaza Theaters Foundation, because all voices do need to be heard. Mm-hmm. We can't talk around the people who we say we're working for. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that, and I'm not saying that, every Black voice or every Caucasian voice or every Latino voice, can speak for every Black person or every white person or every Hispanic person, in the city or the country. But we do have to make sure that we have, representation so those voices and those perspectives can be heard and felt, and make sure that we have the right people on board too. Yeah. And not just, people who just want to put it on the resumes and say, well, I sat on this board or I did this or I did that. But, the importance of having those voices heard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, and it's so true. And I have to say, I am so grateful for the members of the La Jolla Playhouse board, because it is our board who, through the pandemic, made sure that we didn't do any major furloughs, that made sure that our staff stayed together. I mean, it's complicated, but that our board as the staff of the Playhouse, are our strongest and most staunch advocates. But at the same time, for a lot of our board members, it is kind of what you're talking about. It's that, well, I'll sign the check and I helped this play go to Broadway. And it's, because our board members, the other boards that they sit on are for like Scripps Mercy Hospital, MD Anderson, this brain science-y, and so this is their kind of play board, and I think it's so important that we still have voices like what you're talking about on there that are there. I mean, everybody is there for the right reasons. This is not anything against our board by any means, but are there people that truly understand the what's beneath, the why beneath what we're doing? And I appreciated what you said about, between the Playhouse Partners and Malcolm X Library and Malcolm X One. And I wanted to, if you wouldn't mind kind of touching on the intersection of artistry and advocacy, because I feel like we're also getting to a time right now in this climate that we're in, with everything going in, that the two are intersecting more and more. It's almost like there was a time 10, 15, whatever years ago that you had to choose, am I going to be an artist or am I going to be an advocate? And now the two feel so deeply interconnected. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jacole. And you know what? It's so good that you said that, because I love music. I just finished writing a script, just sent it off last night. And Ball of Confusion by the Temptations says it all. A song that was written, late 60s, early 70s. They were talking about society, people moving out, people moving in, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. So Amiri Baraka from 1971, of course, with Mr. Gay, God rest his soul. But you know what? Amiri Baraka once said that whatever's going on in society, we need to take what's happening within the masses of people and put it on the stage. So that's where the intersection does come in reference to, if we're talking about, what's going on in the educational world, if we're talking about homelessness, as an example of a societal ill, and I'm not saying that, someone's going to create a play about that, to make it a moneymaker or lessen that, the severity of the problem. But, we need to make sure that whatever we do produce, that it does touch on an aspect or two or three or four of what's really taking place in society. Everything doesn't have to be every single piece. It really doesn't have to be something so serious, because I know there are many stories and many genres, of course. But however, with that intersection of it, we do have to make sure that we're looking at what's really happening in the world around us and use the platform of theater, use the stage to get those voices out as well. So it's really important, especially in this day and age,
Ahmed, this is what I thought you were going to do before. You have to give Sam's favorite Amiri Baraka quote. That's what I thought when she brought his name up before. That's why I thought you came back on screen, because I don't work there anymore, so I can't do it.
I can't remember it. I can't remember it.
It's Sam had an experience. I don't know if they were working on a play together, but this is probably early. Yeah. It was probably early 80s that they were working together. Do you remember it? Do you remember it, Ahmed?
Are you talking about basically that?
Yeah.
Basically that that Amiri Baraka was telling them that us as Black people, we had to know everything. We had to learn everything about white people. Like that, it was like, white people had to learn about Black folks because Black people already had to. Something like that.
Well, the quote is, it's like that, people are surprised at how much Black people know about white people, even though white people don't really know shit about Black people. And he says it's because, and the quote from Amiri Baraka is, you just have to know about you. I have to know about me and you.
There you go. There it is.
Because we have to operate through the world, knowing how white people operate through the world, so that we can figure out how to navigate through this white ass world. Whereas they don't have to have a regard for how to navigate Black people. They don't have to know how to navigate the world with us in it, because they don't have to. We have to know about them to be able to navigate in our own world. So no, I bring it up because it's Sam's favorite quote. And whenever we're talking about like the importance of representation, people in the room, Sam likes to quote.
You know what? Now that is God. Oh, you know what? Yeah. One of my favorite songs is Stand. I love Sly and the Family Stone. I love Sly and the Family Stone. And one of my favorite songs, period, is Stand. And my favorite lyric is Stand, there's a cross for you to bear. And we as Black folks always have so many crosses that we do have to bear. Let's keep it real. So, and we have to, continue to be professional, of course. But we know, just like we were saying with the quote, or you all were definitely saying with the quote, what we're talking about, we have to know what's going on in the white world. We have to know what's going on in the Black world, if you want to say it in such a way, so we can survive. We have to know, and I don't want to get too political, but, look at the last, actually from 16 to 2020, that catastrophe that took place, back east, it's like, oh my God, how is this even permissible?
Yeah.
Why is this? Well, we know why, the systematic racism of it all. But, it was just something. It was just too much. It was just way too much, and that really goes back to a part of who we are as Black people, in reference to being able to survive slavery, look at what Dr. King had to go through, what our grandparents, our parents, had to go through. And we just have to make sure that we, keep that spirit in us all in reference to how we live our lives daily. So,
It's funny because both of you, like, I know I said I was going to hang back this episode, but I keep having to jump in. Because it was exactly what both of you were saying, especially what you brought up, Jacole, and what you're elaborating on, Gina, about what it seems like the shortening distance between what is what we do as artists and activism, right? And it's funny, Jacole, as you mentioned notes, but that was one of the main things that spurred me to do that. And they were mentioning Sam. It was a question that he asked, that he had been asking constantly, especially in this time, was that should a performing arts organization also be a social justice organization? And it was that question that spurred that first episode of Notes, because the first episode of Notes was on Lorraine Hansberry and race covenants, and it was about how her as a child seeing what her dad went through as being a building owner, but not being able to purchase buildings outside of his neighborhood, and almost being considered a slumlord because he couldn't purchase buildings outside their neighborhood. And when him and his business partner decided to, they ran into that race covenants, which went all the way to the Supreme Court. And without her as a child seeing her father go through that and go to the Supreme Court, there's no raising in the sun, because that's directly where that story comes from. And so when we're talking about, like you said, it's not always about you just directly doing activism, but if we're doing real stories and real narrative about real things that are really happening in life, then I guess it becomes what do you mean by social justice? Do you mean the social justice, the thing that's thrown around today, the word, the phrase, the thing that the social justice warrior, or do you mean social justice? You're doing what you do to make change in people's lives. You know what I mean? I guess, and that is just funny that you both mentioned that, because that is exactly where that was what made me do that first episode. It was directly to answer that question, and it just brought to my mind, well, what's the biggest impact I could make to where a social justice issue has spurred one of the best pieces of art in the history of the world. You know what I mean? And as you guys were talking about boards, really quickly, I just want to shout out Jasmine Sadler, who's a board member here at San Diego Repertory Theatre. She's been watching all night, and she just gave a shout out there. And someone else just put a comment that y'all know, Miss Dia has a question for you, Gina, not to sidetrack us, but she would like to know which Black theater you've seen recently, not hers.
But I did see yours, Miss Dia. I did see your play. I did. I was going to bring my family, but it got shut down because of COVID. But I saw your play. So I will say that, what is it called? 1222 Ocean View Street, A Black Family Christmas is one of the best Black pieces of theater that I have seen as of late. Also, I don't know if y'all got a chance to see Charlene Woodard's play, The Garden, at La Jolla Playhouse that just took place. Beautiful 2-person play, mother-daughter story. It was Black girl magic up in that piece. It was 2 Black female actors, 2.5, 3 Black, because you throw me in the mix because I got in there, but Black female directors. Lighting designer was a Black female. It was just dope. It was Black girl magic that was going on in there. So I will say that was one of my favorite that I've seen. What about you, Gina? Have you seen good Black theater? What's your top Black theater rate?
It's so funny. Hey, Dia, and I did see your play as well. Exactly. It's so funny because I was in Atlanta October, November, because I'm a board member for the Atlanta Black Theater Festival. And so there were numerous plays that were there. And one, we had the college monologue, and I'm not going to say one piece, but there were a collective of students, from various colleges who were there, and they had various monologues that they were presenting. I guess about 12 students. And it was just fabulous. It was just absolutely fabulous. So to see those young people there, I was a judge, but you know what? Just to see them there and just to see them so passionate about various stories in reference to the Black experience, was really, really rewarding. So Deja Fields actually is from San Diego, UCLA. Deja. Exactly.
I did. She was in the Reps production of In the Heights. She was one of the SCPA students that were in the ensemble of In the Heights.
Exactly. She was in Dia's play too. Exactly. Yeah. Very talented young sister. So I didn't even know her. And I remember she did tell me that. There you go. So I met her in Atlanta and she was one of the contestants and we just hit it off. So you know what? Just being there in Atlanta, with the Atlanta Black Theater Festival, being back home, my second home, Atlanta, of course, being there for grad school, whatnot. It was just good. It was just good. So just to see, the collective of young people, college students, undergrads, presenting was really, really good. It was just really, refreshing and just seeing just their passion for theater, seeing their passion for the arts and being in a space where they felt comfortable, just being themselves artistically was really good too. Mm-hmm. But Deja was there. Deja was definitely there. She was one of the she placed, one of the winners. So
she's so talented. I
Absolutely.
love it. I just want to say, did y'all see how Miss Dia just shushed me in the chat? There are too many people in this town that can shut me up. But Miss Dia, she was like, I wasn't talking to you, Jacole. But because can't nobody shut me up, not even Miss Dia. Yes, you can, but this is my show.
Oh,
but no, there's another show that's going on the regional circuit. It's called Schoolgirls, or the African Mean Girls play. Mm-hmm. If y'all get a chance to see it, there was a production that was happening in Chicago that got shut down. It was streaming for a while. It's all love, Dia, all love. There was, but she is the only person that could shut me up besides my own mama. It's, if y'all get a chance to see it, check it out. I think that the production in Chicago might still be streaming. Lillian Brown directed it, but it's one of those that is really now on the regional circuit. Just a really, really beautiful play about us and that kind of adolescent experience, and that we are not a monolith kind of world. So really beautiful play. Gina, we are running out of time. This is what happens. I knew that this was going to happen. Okay. So I have to ask one question because this is really, this is me putting my casting director hat on. So that you mentioned that you used to be an actor. Gina, do you still do any acting?
Oh my God.
Coming up, like if, I happen to be directing a production for the WOW Festival that needed Black women of a certain age. I just wanted to know, do you still do any acting?
You know what? It is so funny. Tyler Hughes asked me maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm like, well, you know what? I really do need to brush up on my skills. Liz Shipman is so dope. And she actually, is one of my acting coaches. I haven't been to Liz's class in about 3 years or whatnot. The pandemic happened, so on and so forth. And so once I brush up on my skills, check me out maybe next year to come.
Okay. I got my eye on you. I am updating my list. Excellent. Okay. And last thing, Gina, have we had this conversation? You went to SIU Edwardsville. My mom's entire side of the family is from Edwardsville.
Are you serious?
My mom is living now in Morrow, Illinois. Edwardsville is going into town for where my mom lives right now. All of my cousins on my mom's side in Edwardsville. Yes.
I never knew that.
That is when you said SIU Edwardsville. I was like, wait a minute. I know SIU. No, you even said Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. I was like, no, that's SIU. That's SIU Edwardsville. No, my mom's entire, the Burris family. That is where the white half of me hails from. Edwardsville, Illinois.
Edwardsville. Wow. So we have to talk about that a little bit later because I'm really interested on how your mom came here to the West Coast. Because I know you grew up in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, it's a whole that's a whole other Oprah. We'll do that. We'll do that one over drinks. We'll do that one over wine, Gina.
Love it. We're both downtown, so that'll work perfectly.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Ahmed, are you going to come back on to help me say goodbye to our fantastic guest and close out the show? There he is. There's that. We can't do this show without that voice. Come on.
Yeah. I told everybody I've been laying low, and thank you everybody who sent me messages last week who knew I was a little bit under the weather. Thank you very much. I'm doing all right. I'll be good. Y'all know me. I'm half human, half rock, so I'll be all right. Yeah, well, yeah, let's get ready to wrap this thing up. Gina, I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. This is what we figured this conversation would be. We knew this would be a great conversation. And look, we even had, anytime you get Miss Dia who pops up and jumps up out on the comment, look, already sending me an email. Anytime Miss Dia jumps up in the comments, you know it was a good conversation. Gina, we really appreciate you coming on to join us tonight. This was great conversation. And if there's anybody who was listening who didn't know you, we really hope that they got to know you a little bit tonight. And we'll see you now when we get back in the live theater and say, hey, how you doing? And talk to you. And we just really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Oh, thank you all so much. And thank you for even, like I said before, even thinking about me. You know, I really, really, truly appreciate it. And you know what? I definitely have to give a shout out to Dia. Dia was the first person who told me you need to be an arts commissioner. This was in maybe 13 or 14. I can't remember right offhand which particular year. The first go round, I wasn't selected. But the next year, well, you know, the next year or two, 2015, you know, I was back on the list. Dana, who I love dearly as well, Dana Springs, who used to be the arts commissioner, she called me. I was working with the Special Olympic World Games, you know, in Los Angeles for a couple of weeks. And she was like, are you ready? Are you ready? I'm like, I've been ready.
Dia be doing that though. I think that the commission should be giving her a kickback because she told Jason Whooper that he needed to
That's
join.
what I'm saying. Exactly. There you go. And Dia and Osborne definitely represent what Black art philanthropic work should look like around the country. I mean, just philanthropic work, period.
Yes.
But I mean, they have truly made their mark in San Diego in particular, probably around the country. Yes. But I can say here in the city and the county, I mean, you know, this is what it needs to look like. And this should be a whole different conversation in reference to, you know, how to support the arts, the business of show business, and what we need to do as philanthropists, you know, to keep the arts going from that, you know, perspective. So, and Dia and Osborne definitely need to be commended for all of the work that they've done over the years. You know, role models for us all. Role models for us all.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah, it's almost time. It's almost time for us to have them back on. I think we almost at that over year point where it's almost time to have them come back on.
We might need to revisit that one. I just want to say, I always give a shout out to all of our We Are Listening super fans. So thank you once again to our super fans, but also thank you for our little sneaky peeky fans who are coming in there and we don't always know that y'all are listening. I can't tell you how many times in conversations that I've had with folks meeting for the first time that I think I'm meeting for the first time. And they say, oh my gosh, I've watched We Are Listening. I've seen you on the show. So thank you for those that are sneaking in. Thank you for those who are watching every week. Just thank you for supporting Black artists and conversations, Black conversations.
Yeah, thank you all. And again, Gina, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. All of you listening, we do appreciate you very much. Thank you so much. I mean, y'all watching, this is why we do this. Just thank you, everything. Thank you for the emails, all the, like Jacole says, every once in a while, you're doing something, you're out, someone comes to the theater and they mention to you that you watched it. It's always just a cool little surprise, and someone you don't expect says like, oh yeah, I watched this episode and saw this. And so everybody, thank you very much. I just want to remind everybody again, please make sure you join me on, hold on just a second here. Make sure you please join me on February 7th. We Are Listening Notes. We'll be talking again about the African Grove Theater. So please make sure you join us for that episode. And with that being said, we are going to wrap up episode 36.
36. It's almost as old as me.
We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to go somewhere and drink some tea. And also make sure you join us on February 21st as we will be talking to actor, playwright, Mr. Michael Gene Sullivan. He'll be joining us here in We Are Listening. Everybody, thank you. Kevin, thank you for being on your first episode with us. Sitting behind the boards.
The We Are Listening team. Kevin from MDES behind the scenes, helping make sure everything is running right. Shout out Kevin with the Y, y'all. Kevin, that's our sound guy. Kevin with the Y.
And that's going to be a wrap, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we will talk to you soon. And Jacole, what do you always tell the folks?
Thanks for listening.
All right, y'all. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.